All right, portal members, we are now on the third video in this series, the GRAIL and the Holy SEPHIROTH. I'm going to be continuing to read to you from volume 1998 of Temple Doors, Alpha through Omega, and I will probably be making some commentary along the way. We will begin by bringing forth some of the older material regarding the Halarian Crystals, which appeared in a publication of this mystery temple some years ago, which is now out of print. Bear in mind, I'm saying that in 1998, that this is older, so that would come probably in the 1980s. This had originally been produced as a handbook entitled the Star Lotus Manual, and was intended for use by what was then termed the Isis Templars. That was the group that I had at the time. It was not a virtual group. It wasn't on the internet or anything like that, because there wasn't any internet. So people actually came to my house and we discussed and worked with these things. The information from the Star Lotus Manual has been edited somewhat to bring it up to date. Well, perhaps it should be edited again. We will be correlating each of the Halarian crystals to a specific sephirothic path, so we must understand just what these crystals are beforehand. The Shekinah crystal is the import from which the Ennead project themselves into this time-space awareness. They call it their vehicle of return. However, the Shekinah crystal, or SHKCRA, and I'm not sure how I would possibly pronounce that, an illumined code for the Shekinah crystal is much more than this. The Ennead has transmitted that the SHKCRA was an interpreter of universal coding, which was sent through the time continuum to specific points at appointed times. Its purpose, or one of them, is to begin the recalibration of the Earth to its full light redemption, beginning with the atomic cellular level. The Ennead is now tapping the root flame of the planet and calling back the unredeemed light. This is being accomplished through the vehicle of the SHKCRA, or Shekinah Crystal. Now, I'd like to pause here in 2016. I don't have a handy explanation of what the Shekinah is. Let's see. Not the Shekinah, I'm sorry, the Ennead. We know an Ennead divine hologram, but we don't understand, not hologram, gosh, I'm sorry. What's it called? Sacred geometry. But this is not what they're referring to here. They're referring to a grouping of souls. And I don't have it written here, but very basically, as I recall, it is a grouping of souls that works on a whole interdimensional level, not just with the Earth. It's almost like, Star Trek Enterprise, and it goes from world to world to world. That's kind of a simplified way to express it. But it goes around balancing and harmonizing planetary continuums. So, anyway, back to reading from the Star Lotus Manual out of the 1998 GRAIL issue. The crystals of the crystal doctrine, crystallized divine light patterns within helixes of Adam cosmonic replication, from biological DNA to highly defined macrocosmic consciousness, forms within the cosmos are all light coordinates within the crystalline pattern left by the SHKCRA in previous eons of its presence within us. So this is a code. This is as they said before, this chakra, I guess we could call it, is a code coming out of the Shekinah crystal. Thus, these archetypal crystals are containers for specific quantums of chakra. That sort of sounds like chakra, doesn't it? Okay, I can say it now, chakra. Light. In this function, the primary archetypal crystals are the Halarians. Holo, for their holographically aligned specific divine light codes, with karmic stanzas lost from the complete harmony of the universe. They integrate spirit and matter, but within the signal released from the chakra, mother crystal, this integration is which is not taken full circle, or Orion, because they contain the factor of allegiance to true form, to that light body, for which there can be no substitution, and to which all being must come to recognize as its own. It is from the chakra that the Enochian masters receive their light forms, thus the Holo and Orion are combined to form Halarian. You know, in all these years of my work, I have gone through so many different terms and definitions and as system functions, and, you know, it just seems like enough already. You know, why do we have to have so many of them? Since through, you know, all the, it's like, well, what was this one? How does it relate to that one? It just gets, you know, kind of mind-boggling. I've often asked her, can't we just have a little simple system and everything relates to that, so we don't have all these things going on? But he relates to me that it's really all one in a way. But if you look at the human body, just the human body, and the miracle of it, and all the parts of it, right down to the little neutrons of the atom inside the body, and parts that we don't know about yet. Think how complex that is. So for us to decipher it, you know, scientists spent years and years and years and years in colleges and universities and whatever, and just trying to get a handle on the thing so that they can go out and teach it or heal people or whatever they're going to do. So Thoth is attempting to present to us, to inform us of something that is completely, it's even beyond the universe. It's a holistic, dynamic pattern that operates within everything and yet is constantly evolving as we understand evolution, because he says in the ultimate sense there is no evolution, since there's no time, and evolution requires time. But, you know, let's just don't go there. Not now. Let's stay in our time linear reality, being aware that there is an outside the box. And in that field of reference, this is where the complexity comes in. And it's not their fault that there's all this complexity. I say they're the creators of the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. It is that we, as human beings in this linear reality, need to understand principles that are systemically light encoded for beings that can simply breathe them in, and then there's no need for all of this stuff that I'm writing, you know, and all these terms and all of this. There's no need for it. You just go, and you got it. But unfortunately, we kind of left the pod a long time ago, and we're trying to swim back to it, but we are still kind of caught up. So they're helping us the best they can. And in such, we're caught in this web, this net of needing information in order to digest the patterns. Of course, it could be said that there are people that are receiving simply light and love are going to go back to the universal light and love. You don't have to know all of this stuff to do that. You just have to be a good person, you know, and help your neighbor and you know, love puppies and just be good, you know. But maybe I'm trying to justify my work. I don't know. Perhaps that's the case. But this kind of material allows one who is drawn to it to bring it into the conscious spectrum for mass assimilation, so that the people that are out there just loving life and doing good and whatever can receive it in its higher encoded form through that love light, while those of us who are drawn to, at least listen and hear about it and feel it, we feel it when we hear it. It's kind of a feeling thing. Well, we're digesting it for those others who are just in love and flowing, but still need the nourishment from it. But they don't have to try to learn it. It's not their role in this lifetime. And we're not trying to learn it. I can't learn it. Oh my gosh. If I tried to learn everything that I brought through in the last 50 years, I would be, blowing smoke out both of my ears. So I'm doing like many of you who are listening to this now. I'm feeling it. I'm reading it. I'm reading the terminology, and there's little, synapses that are linking and understanding certain things. But for the most part, I'm absorbing it. And I'm feeling that those of you who are drawn to it, you're doing the same thing. So it doesn't mean you can be able to quote it chapter and verse, but you're absorbing what you need, the nutrients of it, and there's certain things you can remember, and you do remember, and share, and it builds a bigger picture. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox and get back to reading again, if I can find where I left off. Oh, that concludes the little narrative from my Star Lotus Manual. I wish I knew where that was, the whole thing, the Star Lotus Manual. Anyway, then I go back to say, this is now the current 1998 time. Thoth further states that the holy SEPHIROTH, or SEPHIROTH, the chakra, and the Halarian crystals are central to the activation of Christic GRAIL consciousness within the human experience. Originally, having been source translated in 1990, the Halarian crystals, as presented in the following format, are expressly those which integrate with the earth and are therefore given names by Thoth and Chariot of the Sun. That's his Merkabic grouping, sort of his Sholar, you might say, which serve to augment our access to their individual light programs. Some of these Halarians are ancient, and some have been newly created through the integration of divine command and human sentience. The SEPHIROTH chakra and Halarian crystals strike at the core dynamic for the GRAIL format in the microcosm being transferred into the macro. No, I got it backwards, of course. In the macrocosm being transferred into the microcosm. The tarot is the key revealer of the GRAIL mystery. The particular association of the major arcanum with the tree of life, as given in the schematic below, pertains to the Halarian template. Understand that there is no one pattern. Oops, let me turn a page here. Association between the tarot arcanum and the Holy SEPHIROTH tree of life. There are instead numerous alignments which register the various components within the nature of dimensionality through the Sephirothic tree, which the Sephirothic tree is expressed. Let me do that again. Through which the Sephirothic tree is expressed. Following this truth, below are revealed the Sephirothic paths, their description, one possible tarot arcanum correlative, and its description, the Halarian crystal, or crystals, and its dynamic definition, the earth minerals, crystals, and gems the Halarian crystal projects through into this dimension, and the associated GRAIL mythos to help create the link into the GRAIL symbology so commonly used on Earth at this time. Definitions of the corresponding tarot archetypes in quotations are from the Merlin Tarot by R.J. Stewart. Where two Halarians share the same path, Thoth gives a correlation for each Halarian, but they both relate to slightly different aspects or dynamics of the same path. Refer to diagram 8 for where the paths are actually situated on the tree of life. In some cases, there are Halarians with multiple aspects, and for this there are various unique modalities revealed. In the traditional Kabbalah, there are 10 sephira, 22 additional interconnective pathways, for a count of 32 individual dynamics. Some systems do not actually count the sephira in numbering the paths, and thus they have a count of 1 through 22 versus 11 through 32. We will use this latter sequencing and numbering system below in Thoth's model. This latter. I'm not sure if it means the latter 122 or 1132 because the other was in parentheses. Anyway, we'll find out. While Thoth's model incorporates 2 additional sephira, he has not given any additional pathways between them and the remainder of the tree. He states this is because there are no pathways applicable to our current evolution between Tau Tak Awi, that's what it says, or Hun Uman, and the traditional sephira. However, these paths will be open to us once we are within the newer star-centered reality. Thus, the actual pathways we are working with are all traditional, but we will be using Thoth's perspective as to what they represent. In some of the Halarian crystals, where there are multiple crystals and gems which they project through, you will see these multiple minerals denoted with an ampersand. Where this has occurred indicates the Halarian crystal in question uses a combination of all of those minerals to project into this reality rather than one of them singly. The latter is the case when the multiples are denoted with semicolons instead. When there is a combination denoted with the ampersand and the mineral after the combination, which is segregated from the combination with the semicolon, this denotes that the Halarian crystal in question can project through the combination or the other single mineral. I'm sorry, but this is so confusing. Whenever Simeon and I wrote this, we must have really thought we were going somewhere, but it doesn't sound too clear to me. Anyway, and you can't even see this, so I'm going to try to help you through this as best I can. The Holy Sephirothic Paths and their Halarian Crystals. Path 1. The path runs from Kether, crowned, to Chokmah, wisdom. The Tarot archetype is the Hierophant. Now I'm quoting here from the book that we're relating, the Merlin Tarot. Popus, originative being, Sophia, or holy wisdom, the crown of wisdom, perfect being emanating from unknown source of function, is to mediate the divine will outwardly towards created worlds. Now that's the Hierophant Tarot that's found in the Kether crowned in this particular Halarian crystal version. The 2 Halarian crystals are the Sophia Halarian and the Deborah Halarian. Now these names Thoth gave, of course, they're not, I don't believe somebody way out in ancient Egypt or Atlantis or wherever wrote the names Sophia Halarian and Deborah Halarian, or maybe even the word Halarian. These are obviously ancient principles and based on scientific, truth. But the terms that Thoth is giving is something that he's made up, I guess you'd say, for this diagram and this presentation. Something that we can align to. If we looked up the word Sophia, if we looked up the word Deborah in a biblical sense, we could probably get a clue, a deeper clue as to how these Halarians, what they are, So the Sophia Halarian resonates with the divine Sophia, mother wisdom of the earth, which is grace personified, contained etherically at the center of the planet. It is now rising, affecting, turn page, outer and physical worlds. The crystal vibration of the Sophia cannot be violated. It contains grace beyond the realm of individual humanity, yet can affect the release of world karma. Also, the Sophia crystal contains the seeds of the two Christic polarities of both male and female, harmonized in perfect accord. It is the matriarchal counterpart to the Archangel Halarian crystal, which is Path 21, which we'll get to later. The Sophia Halarian projects through amethyst, ametrine, and clear quartz. Now, I'm being told right now that all of these Halarians can radiate through Andara crystal glass. And since there's no, type of, there's colors and people name them things like, like the beautiful Lemuria, Aqua Lemuria, or whatever, beautiful name. And I'm sure it's just as aptly suited as these Halarian names are. But, there's not really a whole list of definitive names for the Andara. So you might, if you have an Andara crystal, this is my suggestion from this new information I'm receiving, you might hold it and ask it to tell you which Halarian it is once you have this list of Halarians. I'm reading this to you because I wish you to as I read it, to take it in and just feel the energy of it. But to study it, you need this issue of Temple Doors, which is volume 1998, which can be found, well, for portal members, it's in the portal, So if you want to have this, to study it or to, to work with the crystals, or maybe just jot down a list of them so that you can, like if you wanted to hold an Andara crystal that you had and ask it which one it aligns to, or ones, because it can align to more than one, you could do that. So this serves a purpose, my reading this and discussing it and having you just breathe it in as I read it. But then, if you really like what you're hearing here, you really need to have an issue of it, which you can get in the portal right there in the Vault of Thoth. Okay, I'm interrupting too much, actually, so I need to get back into this here. Deep breath, because we're going to the next Halarian. The Deborah Halarian shares its sephirothic path with Sophia. Conceived within St. Peter's Basilica in Rome in October of 1989, this holy crystal is a product of the union of the Archangel and Sophia Halarian crystals. The Deborah Halarian is a blood essence of the Sophia Halarian and will accelerate the blood chemistry in humanity to meet the etheric charge of LP40, that's light principle 40, when the planet and its aligned inhabitants reach that point of shifting into the new Earth spectrum. The Deborah Halarian projects through the crystal garnet. Okay, I'm sorry, I just have to keep interrupting because I'm getting updates. But every crystal that's given here is presumably correct. Thoth is saying it's correct. But we're now in 2016. So some of these Halarians have also engendered other crystals. So, for instance, with the Halarian Deborah, the Deborah Halarian, it's garnet, but there might be some crystals that, how they're discovering crystals all the time and they're giving names to these new crystals they're finding. That's my example, but it also might, encompass some older ones as well. I don't know. But all he's saying to me right now is, yes, this is correct, but, this was 1998 and now is 2016. Things move on. And this is a collective field. It's collecting, it's bringing things, it's drawing things into it. Okay, so now it says, the Sophia Halarian Crystal Mythos, the honor of the GRAIL, the holy presence of the elixir within. This is the supernal feminine being, untrammeled in the earth. It is to this entry that the GRAIL Knights pledged their loyalty. The Deborah Halarian GRAIL Mythos, also an aspect of the elixir of the GRAIL, the path of restoring what has been lost to the world. The vision of the holy given only to the most dedicated to manifesting unyielding truth and unrequited mercy. This is Galahad's vision, which sustains him through his passage to acquire the GRAIL. Path 2. The path runs from Kether, crown, to Bina, understanding. The tarot archetype, the hermit, light in darkness, withdrawal into spirit, comprehension of transcendent truth. Halarian Crystal, the Noah Halarian, represents redemption through purification, recharging of the primal earth, delegation of earth tribes, both human and animal, into operation under new domains of consciousness. The Halarian projects through hematite and tourmalated quartz, the quartz with tourmaline inclusions. GRAIL mythos, the cleansing of the land through the Battle of Camelot. When Arthur was mortally wounded, his blood spilled as a redemptive vehicle upon the ground of the kingdom. The true pattern could no longer be maintained, so it was taken back into the primal aether of eternal solvency within the earth. You know, this could also be said of Yeshua. When he died upon the cross, his blood seeped into the earth, except for the part that was collected in the cup by Joseph of Arimathea. But the rest of it, it went into the earth. And so speaks about this and actually the crystals it created. Now, he doesn't talk about them as Halarian crystals, but that would be an interesting question to ask him because I don't have it in front of me right now, so I can't read it to you verbatim or say it verbatim, but there were crystals that were created out of the droplets of blood. Those crystals, though, went into the cup. That's what was created in the cup. But the blood that seeped into the earth, so refers to that and how it actually changed the direction of the timeline in the planet. So if we look back at this, the GRAIL mythos of the Noah Halarian, which represents redemption through purification, recharging of the primal earth, delegation of earth tribes, both human and animal, into operation under new domains of consciousness, which is basically what happened when Jesus flipped the switch. This would certainly apply in a similar way, perhaps not as dramatically. I don't know. I'm just saying that it does have it has a correlation there. Path 3, the path runs from Kether, crown, to Sephiroth, beauty and harmony. The tarot archetype is the star. Oh, we're on path 3 now. So this is, I'm sorry, we're on path 3. This is a new path, starting to, new thing. The path runs from Kether, crown, to Sephiroth, beauty and harmony. And the tarot archetype for that path, because we've left the hermit behind, we're now with the star. Holy Spirit, or first breath, with the sun, S-O-N, of light. Christ, transcendent illumination and grace. The Halarian crystal is the Alchemistra Halarian. The alchemal solvent, that divine elixir which creates the bridge between worlds, powers. Oh, no. Uh-oh. I didn't have my mic down. Oh, no. How much I'm going to have to save this and go back.